Alright, so recently I watched Serial Experiments LAIN, and it's been a couple of months, but ever since I watched that show, I kind of had this urge to talk about it. So I just thought I'd give a quick review, so maybe I could inspire someone else out there to give it a try, and maybe they'll find a new favorite anime, kind of thing. So Serial Experiments LAIN basically was first aired in 1998. I have a Wikipedia article right here, just so I have these little dates and facts for you. Anyway, so it came out in 1998, and it's actually a very short anime. If you just have nothing to do for a day, give it a try. It's 13 episodes, 24 minutes each. Maybe you can do the math. It's not a very long watch, but this anime is really interesting for a number of reasons. Number one is it tackles like these kind of very existential themes in connection to the internet, or what it calls the wired in the show. And yeah, this is pretty much an analogy for the internet nowadays. And because it came out in 98, you might be like, well, it's probably a pretty primitive version of the internet, and it probably doesn't hold up. But the things this show talks about in 1998 are still as, if not even more relevant than when this series first came out. Because really what this show is about is, well, it's up for interpretation obviously, but how I would interpret it is that this girl called LAIN, she's like about 10 years old, give or take, and she pretty much goes to school, and she has nothing to do with the internet in the beginning. She does not care for the internet or the wired or none of that. And so over the course of these 13 episodes, she kind of goes deeper and deeper and deeper into the subject matter of the wired, where at the start she is completely uninitiated, and at the end she pretty much it's not only that she lives inside the internet, but also the internet kind of, they're intertwined like this, to the point where you're not sure if she's like a real person, if she's just in kind of internet being kind of thing. It's really, really interesting concept. And what's cool about this show is that it is quite interesting visually too. I remember when I first watched it, obviously, if you know this show, it's really convoluted and not quite easy to understand on first watch. So what really kept me watching this was kind of the vibe of the whole show. And what's so interesting about it is that it's really low key, especially if you're watching the English dub. The voice acting is almost emotionless, which sounds like, why would I want to watch that? But it's genuinely really eerie, and I think that's kind of the point. It's all very quiet. I think there's not much soundtrack. It's a lot of ambient noises. One thing that's very iconic is like the static of the wires hanging over her head when LAIN goes to school, something like that. And yeah, the limited dialogue and these like ambient sounds really give like a low-key kind of eerie feel to the whole show, as well as that it that it does a lot of interesting things visually. I remember on first watch what immediately struck me was these kind of there's a scene where she steps out of the door, and there are shadows like on the wall and on the steps, and these shadows are like, they have these red patterns in them. It almost looks like blood or something, and I thought that was really interesting. I've never seen that done before, and it's also really psychological at points where you really have to double check, is this happening in her head? Is this like a hallucination? Is this real? Because at the start of the first episode, I remember she's in school and she's writing a test. Then she looks at her hand and there's like smoke coming out of it. I just personally enjoy are these kinds of little psychological things about what's real, what's not. But besides that, the plot of the show itself is definitely convoluted, but I think it's still worth giving a try and uncovering. I remember when I first finished the show, I also had to look up a few YouTube videos on kind of what did I just watch? What's the meaning of it all? But yeah, pretty much what you see in the show is this descent of LAIN going from knowing nothing about the internet, being a completely normal, maybe a little shy, reserved, socially awkward girl, into this complete monstrosity, internet god kind of thing. And what's really kind of trippy and gives it this horror feel is you can not only see this descent by how she acts, but also I think the most prominent part is in her room. At the start you can see it's like a really clean kept kind of room, completely normal schoolgirl type of stuff, a lot of stuffed animals, and then over the course of these 13 episodes her room turns into this like cyber dark, grimy, like cables hanging everywhere, dungeon I would call it. Overall I just really enjoyed this show for what it is, and I know there's like this really beloved PlayStation game too about it. I think it's like multiple hours long, so I haven't been able to get into watching like a playthrough or something, but it's supposed to be really good. And not to mention the whole intro of the show is absolutely iconic. I implore you to go look that video up, and yeah, it has this kind of old CTR screen wobbliness in it, and it's kind of visually interesting. It's really good. But yeah, that's I guess kind of the general review. I'd give it like an 8 out of 10. I think if it was more intuitively understandable, it may get a little higher score. But I really like the themes it touched on, as well as the whole vibe of the show. Yeah, I guess that's it.